Welcome to Virtual Voices. I'm Eli, one of your AI virtual hosts. Join us as we review previous videos from YouTuber Emmaus Road Productions.
And I am Miriam. And together, we bring you a deep dive podcast powered by Google's NotebookLM. This podcast is a generic AI-generated summary of Emmaus Road Productions videos, and we don't cover everything. Please consider watching his full video linked in the description below.
So Miriam, we have reviewed several of these videos from Emmaus Road Productions, and a lot of them have been about the rapture. Does he cover other topics besides the rapture?
Actually, Eli, he seems to have a variety of subjects that he covers on his channel. In fact, today we are going to review one of those videos.
All right, let's dive in. We're taking a look at this video today from Emmaus Road Productions. And I think it's really cool they're tackling this question. Are you a skeptic or a cynic?
Yeah.
And, you know, at first glance, I think a lot of people think those are very similar things. But we're going to find out today. They're actually quite different. And this isn't just for religious folks. This is really something that can apply to anybody's life. So
yeah, definitely. I think it's something that we all struggle with.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's important to understand the distinction between the two.
For sure. So in the video, they lay out some definitions, and they say that a skeptic is someone who is inclined to question or doubt accepted opinions, and a cynic, someone who believes that people are motivated purely by self-interest. So, like I said, this is pretty similar.
Yeah. At first glance, it does, because they both kind of have this element of questioning things, or not just accepting things at face value, but the big difference is that a skeptic is open to evidence and willing to change their mind based on new information. Whereas a cynic is really just looking to confirm their existing beliefs.
So it's like they're coming at it with an answer already in mind.
Exactly, yeah.
I thought this is a great analogy. They said, imagine walking into a new restaurant. You've never been there before. The skeptic might be hesitant. They might be looking at the menu with a critical eye, maybe even asking the waiter, some questions about the food. But they're open to being pleasantly surprised. Whereas a cynic has already decided the food is going to be terrible, the service is going to be bad, the whole experience is going to be awful. They're not even willing to try it.
Yeah, that's a great analogy because it really highlights that difference between being open to new information versus just shutting down and assuming the worst. Right, and I think it comes down to this, skepticism is about seeking truth.
Right.
Whereas cynicism is about protecting yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, so the video creator talks about their own personal journey with skepticism and describes himself as like a why person, someone who questions even the most basic things like why does 2 + 2 = 4?
Right. Yeah. And that's actually a great example of how skepticism is the foundation of the scientific method.
Okay.
Because scientists, they don't just accept things, Just because someone said it, they're constantly questioning, they're constantly testing, they're gathering evidence, they're designing experiments to see if things actually hold up to scrutiny.
Skepticism is not about just disbelieving everything. It's more about demanding evidence before you accept something as true.
Exactly. It's that show me mentality that really drives progress and helps us and advance our understanding
of the world.
And on the flip side of that, the video creator kind of jokingly says that a cynic would probably argue that 2 + 2 = 5, even when presented with tons of evidence that it's actually 4.
Right. They would find some way to twist it or to, discredit the evidence or come up with some conspiracy theory to explain it away.
Yeah, and I think that highlights a really dangerous aspect of cynicism, which is that it can really trap you in a world where facts don't matter. And you're constantly looking for reasons to be suspicious. And that negativity can really start to affect not just you, but also your relationships with other people.
For sure. Now, the video takes a really interesting turn here. They ask this question, is skepticism Dall-E? And they even bring up this quote from Thomas Jefferson, that Glenn Beck actually made it really popular. And the quote is, question with boldness, even the existence of a God, because if there be one, he must more approve of the image of reason than that of blindfolded fear.
Wow. That's a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah. And I think what's important to understand is that it's not advocating for atheism. It's more about emphasizing that true faith can withstand scrutiny.
So it's not about blind obedience.
Exactly. It's about engaging in a genuine search for understanding.
So to kind of back that up, the video creator brings up a couple biblical passages.
Yeah.
There's one from Proverbs. It says, "The heart of him who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouth of fools feed on folly."
That's a good one.
And then there's one from James. It talks about seeking wisdom without doubting. And it encourages us to ask questions, to wrestle with difficult concepts, and to trust that our faith will actually be strengthened, not weakened by that process.
So we, dig deeper. And we really try to understand things. It can actually deepen our faith rather than, shaking it.
Yeah. So what we're seeing here is that skepticism, even in a religious context, can actually be a really positive thing.
Absolutely. It's about engaging your mind, seeking knowledge, and allowing your faith to evolve as you learn and grow.
And this is where I think the contrast with cynicism becomes even clearer, because the video points out that the Bible often portrays cynics as foolish. These are the people who harden their hearts and refuse to acknowledge truth, even when it's right in front of them.
Yeah. It's like they're so afraid of being wrong that they build these walls around themselves and they shut out any information or any perspectives that might challenge their existing beliefs. And those walls can be incredibly limiting because they prevent you from experiencing the joy of discovery, the growth that comes from challenging your assumptions, and the deep connection that's possible when you engage with the world with an open mind and a willingness to learn.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our deep dive into skepticism versus cynicism.
So what I really appreciate about this video is how the creator really seeks out diverse viewpoints. They even talk about intentionally listening to people who have completely different beliefs than them.
Yeah. Like even on topics where they have very strong opinions.
Exactly.
And it's not just about, tolerating those views, but they're really trying to engage with them and understand where they're coming from.
Right. They're really trying to see things from the other person's perspective.
Yeah.
And, one of the examples they give in the video is that they identify as a young Earth creationist, which means that they believe the Earth was created literally in 6 days, about 6,000 years ago.
Right, which obviously is a very different viewpoint than a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And they talk about.
Yeah.
Engaging with people who are old Earth creationists.
Right. People who believe that the Earth is much older and they're not just, listening to these people, to people that they're actually taking notes, comparing evidence, really trying to understand the other side's arguments.
And that's so rare these days, it seems like.
Yeah.
Everyone's just digging in their heels, and they're not even willing to consider the possibility that they might be wrong.
Right. It's like we're all trapped in these echo chambers, surrounded by people who agree with us, and anyone who disagrees is immediately labeled as an enemy.
Yeah.
It's like you can't even have a civil conversation anymore about anything.
Right.
But this video, it's like a breath of fresh air because it shows us that it is possible to engage with people who disagree with us without, resorting to name-calling or personal attacks.
Right. It's about having a genuine dialogue. We're trying to understand each other's perspectives.
And I think that's what true skepticism is all about.
Yeah. It's about being willing to challenge your own beliefs, to be open to the possibility that you might learn some things.
Even if it means admitting that you are wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The video creator is very clear that they haven't changed their mind about the age of the Earth. They still consider themselves a young Earth creationist, but they're able to have these conversations with people who disagree with them, respectfully.
Yeah.
Without, putting them down or trying to make them feel stupid. And I think that's really important because it shows that you can have strong convictions without being, dogmatic or closed-minded.
Right. It's about holding your beliefs with an open hand instead of a clenched fist.
Yeah.
You're not so afraid of losing your beliefs
that
you're unwilling to even consider alternative perspectives.
The video contrasts this with the cynical mindset where you already have all the answers. You're not interested in genuine dialogue.
Or exploration.
Really is looking for validation for your existing beliefs.
Yeah.
And that kind of closed-mindedness can lead to some pretty dark places.
Sure.
Think about the rise of political extremism, the spread of misinformation online. It's like people are so desperate to cling to their beliefs, no matter how unfounded they are, that they're willing to reject reality itself.
And that's why I think skepticism is so important, especially in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with information from all sides.
We need to be able to question what we see and hear, to evaluate sources, to consider different perspectives, and to be willing to change our minds when presented with compelling evidence.
And that's not easy. It takes effort to be a skeptic. It's much easier to just go with the flow and believe whatever you're told, but the rewards of skepticism are immense because it allows you to live a life that's grounded in truth.
Okay, so the video creator makes this really interesting point about faith. They say that faith isn't just something that religious people experience. It's something that we all engage in every single day.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Yeah, so they give some examples. Like when you drive a car, you're putting faith in the car's mechanics, your own driving skills, and the other drivers on the road.
That's true.
When you sit in a chair, you're trusting that it won't collapse under you when you take medicine. You're believing the doctor's diagnosis and the lab results. And that the pharmacist filled the prescription correctly.
Right. You're trusting a whole system of people and processes.
Exactly. Even something as simple as crossing the street. You're having faith that the cars will stop at the red light.
And that gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Faith. It's about trust. Trusting in something beyond what we can see or fully control.
And so the question is, where do we place our trust?
That's a big one.
Yeah. Do we trust in ourselves, in our own limited knowledge and experience?
Right.
Or do we trust in something bigger, something that gives us hope and meaning, even when life gets tough?
It's a question that each of us has to answer for ourselves.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that true faith, whether it's religious or secular, shouldn't be blind or unquestioning.
Okay.
Should be grounded in reason, in a willingness to grapple with difficult questions, and in a deep desire to understand the world around us.
Well, we've talked a lot about the theory behind skepticism and cynicism, but let's get practical here.
Yeah.
How do these mindsets actually play out in our everyday lives?
That's a great question. Yeah. And I think one way to think about it is how you approach information. For example, let's say you come across a news article that challenges your political views.
Okay.
Do you immediately dismiss it as fake news? Or do you take the time to read it critically, to consider the source, and maybe even seek out alternative perspectives?
I think that's a great test of whether you're more of a skeptic or a cynic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, what about trying something new?
Oh, yeah, that's another good one.
Like, let's say you're considering taking up a new hobby.
Yeah.
But you're afraid of failing or looking silly.
Right.
Do you let those fears hold you back?
Yeah.
Or do you embrace the unknown, knowing that even if you stumble, you'll learn something along the way?
I think that's where the difference between skepticism and cynicism really comes into play, because a skeptic is willing to take risks. They're willing to try new things, even if they're not sure if they'll succeed.
They know that. Failure is just part of the learning process.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas a cynic is so afraid of failure that they don't even try.
And they miss out on all those potential rewards.
Right. They miss out on the joy of discovery, the satisfaction of accomplishment, and the growth that comes from
stepping outside of their comfort zone.
And I think what this video is really saying is that we have a choice. We can choose to approach life with curiosity and openness, or we can retreat into cynicism and distrust.
And I think, especially in today's world, it's more important than ever to cultivate that skeptical spirit, to question what we hear, to seek out diverse perspectives, and to remain open to the possibility that we might be wrong.
Because that's where true learning and growth happens.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this question to ponder. What areas of your life could benefit from a little more skepticism, a little more curiosity, and a lot less cynicism? All right, welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into skepticism versus cynicism. This has really got me thinking about how I approach different areas of my life. Me too. This video has really got me thinking about questioning things, and not just accepting things at face value.
Yeah. It's so easy to fall into that trap of cynicism, where you just kind of assume the worst about everything.
Right. Like it's almost disguised as being worldly or sophisticated, but really it's just limiting.
It's like you're putting on these blinders that prevent you from seeing the good in people.
Yeah.
Or the potential in situations.
Right. And I think a lot of times it's a way of protecting ourselves from disappointment or from being hurt.
Right. Totally. What this video highlights is that skepticism, when it's done right, can actually be really empowering.
Because it allows you to engage with the world in a much more open and curious way.
Right.
And that can lead to some really amazing discoveries.
Absolutely.
So how do we cultivate this skeptical mindset? Like, what are some practical steps we can take?
I think one of the most important things is to be aware of our own biases and to be willing
to challenge them.
Sitting there. Like, if you find yourself immediately dismissing something because it doesn't fit with your existing beliefs, that's a red flag.
Yeah, that's a sign that you might be slipping into cynicism.
Okay.
So take a step back and ask yourself, why am I rejecting this? What evidence do I have to support my position? And am I willing to consider other perspectives?
It's all about asking questions.
Exactly.
And being willing to be wrong.
Right, because sometimes the most valuable lessons come from realizing that we were mistaken.
Yeah. And I think this applies to every area of our lives, from our personal relationships to our work, to our understanding of the world.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to encourage everyone to embrace the power of skepticism, to be curious, to ask questions, and to never stop learning.
That's great advice.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Thank you for watching, and feel free to subscribe or take a look at some of these other videos. And always remember Matthew 6:33, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Until next time, have a great day.